Hello guys, welcome back to another New World video, another one here for you today. Just before we start, I just wanted to say, guys, if you want to, you can join the Discord below. A lot of cool people over there. The Discord is just below in the description, first line, so thank you very much for that. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into today's topic, which is PvP and why you suck. Now, I thought about doing this video for a little while. I didn't really know how I was going to title it or frame it, but it was basically just, I see a lot of people that have a lot of missteps in New World and they struggle with PvP, but there's a lot of things, there's a lot of elements that go into being good at this game. I think a lot of people tend to forget that it's an MMO and that actually so much input really goes into building your character and making him strong and actually being competitive in PvP. People get to 60, that they put on their new gear, they go for a fight and they get bodied and then wonder what the hell is going on. So anyway, here we go, guys. Let's get into the first one. I'm going to break this up into nice little neat topics here, and then we'll give our overall general consensus at the end. So anyway, let's start with knowing your role. Now, knowing your role is an important one, and when I say it, I mean, what is it that your character is doing? Are you a bruiser, brawler, mage, ranger, whatever it is, whatever thing and slot that you're trying to, fit yourself into there, it's important that you understand your role and then equally how to play and act appropriately because of it. Just giving an example off the top of my head, the reason that I got this topic, I noticed myself when I play OPR a lot, perhaps, people have just taken the point and I'm going crazy and I wanted to get in there so I can throw my incinerate down, and I push and I use my character sometimes as if he is a brawler, as if he is a bruiser, as if he can bully other, big melee characters around, and he can, and I pay for it, in the clip, I'm showing now, you get what I'm saying, right? And so it's important that you understand how it is to engage people, how it is and I'm going to be using my character as obviously the best example that I can give, but all of these tips apply to everybody, right? All of them, it applies to everybody. So I found I have a lot more success in 1v1s and maybe possibly 1v2s, places and things that I can get to where I've got a bit more control over what's going on. If I'm in a fight with 20 odd people in OPR and it's just everybody's going absolutely crazy, it's best for me to stay back and use my fireball shots to put burns on people, annoy people. There's no point in me going in and getting myself killed and then just waiting for the respawn to go and do it over again. We don't want to feed the enemy team here. We're trying to play our character to the best of our ability, right? So, okay, that's that then. Knowing your role. So, again, whatever role it is you're playing, whatever type of character you're doing, maybe you're doing a ranger dex build and you're wanting to be successful in OPR like Arrowy and these other people that are dominating OPR with 40 kill streaks and no deaths. Learn what it is that these people are doing with just using Arrowy as an example. He's really good with engaging people from a medium long distance, getting them mad enough to chase him, and then he's pulling them away from the crowd and running into the jungle so he can fight them one-on-one. He's getting those kills because he knows his build dominates one-on-one, 1v2, and so he'll do it and then he'll get out. And so that's a really important part of doing it, right? Anyway, moving on to the next part, we're going to talk meta. Meta is probably one of the most confusing things. I feel like everybody gets confused with it. What's the meta? It's changing all the time. Now, for anybody that doesn't really follow these things, the best thing you can do is ask the people in your world, right? In your server, make sure you ask it, hey guys, why is it these perks are so expensive? That's how you can learn these meta things. But I'm just going to go over briefly the knowledge that I know, okay? So when we're talking about meta and we're talking about PvP, there's certain perks that stand out above the rest. Let's start with armors, okay? Now, Resilient is obviously one of the better perks that you can get on your character. When it's stacked, it really does bring a great toughness to your character that you're not going to get otherwise. And when you're without it, and I'm talking to the people that are level 60, they're looking to build their character, maybe they're confused why they're dying so quickly. This is why, right? Well, it's one of the reasons why anyway. You know, shirking fortification, another incredibly good perk on your armor. Now, best in slot, you know, meta, what's the best, you know, a lot of it is subjective to what your build is, because New World is different to other MMOs. You can make a lot of combinations of weapons, and a lot of them can be really goddamn good and really, you know, really strong. But you're grabbing perks that maybe wouldn't be considered bis or meta, perhaps to get what you're doing even stronger, right? So, again, just over the armors, obviously we've got Resilient, we've got Shirking Fortification. I've heard Shirking Heals is good, but there's a 5-second cooldown before it goes off again, so that's not ideal. And obviously then you've got weapon perks on armors that can be really good. If we just have a look over at my character here for a second, you know, I've got a very particular thing going on here. So if we go over and we look at my medium footwear for a second, we can see I've got Stable Incinerate. Incinerate gains grit and deals 12% extra damage, right? So Incinerate hits twice in nature when you've got it maxed out on the tree. And so you're hitting twice and you're doing 12% extra damage. Let's just go over to my staff for a second. Now we've got Keenly Empowered and Thwarting Strikes. Thwarting Strikes is a bit of an odd one, but let's have a read of it. Deal 12% additional damage while you have grit. So Stable Incinerate gives me grit. That gives me more damage, another 12% damage on top of my grit, but it doesn't end there either, because I've got the rapier. And so what I make sure I do is I have Sundering Riposte, because whenever I'm doing an Incinerate, I'm setting up a riposte, weakening them, right, with the Sundering Riposte. Riposte inflicts rend, reducing damage absorption of a target by 15% for 10 seconds. They're weakened. I Incinerate. I have the buff on the Incinerate with the Stable Incinerate and with the Thwarting Strike, and it hits twice. It's really dangerous, right? Now, arguably, you know, my build or what have you, you know, that's not meta, but that's, you know, that's one of the better combinations that you can get for my build. Now, Flamethrower for Fire Staff, that's considered a meta ability at the moment because it's just so incredibly broken and amazingly good, right? Now, going back to the armor perks, obviously we had Resilient and Shirking Fortification. Another really good one is Freedom. Freedom does a lot for people, and it gets people out of really sticky situations. So I would say those three, Resilient, Shirking Fortification, and Freedom, they're the three best PvP perks you can get outside of, you know, we're talking weapon perks, because then we're getting more specific, right? So those three are really good. Ideally, if you could get it, right, these two pieces that I'm missing now, my Resilient and Sundering Riposte, Shirking Fortification, I would love that to be Shirking Fortification, Resilient Empowering Fireball on a legendary, right? And I would really like that to be Resilient, Sundering Riposte, Shirking Fortification, because now we're getting extra stacks on Shirking Fortification, which is what my build needs to survive, to be more tanky. Not to mention that my rapier, which is my defensive weapon, you know, I have Keenly Fortified for extra toughness, and Deadly Flourish for another way to execute people. Fighting this ranger here now in this clip, you know, I tried to engage him. He was peppering me back and forth. I tried to get closer to his face because I know that I can do more there. And then as we're, you know, wrapping up and concluding the fight right near the edge of the sanctuary, I whip out Deadly Flourish for a really quick execute. Really important to have things like that, and to have, you know, if you're going to be a DPS character, you know, which I assume most people are that are watching these PvP videos, you know, there's not very many tanks and healers, you know, that need to watch this sort of stuff. It's usually people that want to get high kills, you know, they want to do loads of damage, and so that's important. So let's quickly talk about weapon perks now. Weapon perks are obviously super important. What is BIS meta? right? Okay, now, again, it's also, again, a lot of it is subjective to what your build is, but really, what's considered the best right now is arguably Keen. Everybody wants Keen on their weapons. Keenly Fortified is amazing. It empowers you whenever you crit. You just do extra damage for nothing. Amazing. Really like that. And at the moment, Abyssal Attunement and Nature Attunement, Ice Attunement, things like that are giving weapons 18% extra damage for just nothing. You know, they just attack and they get extra damage for nothing, right? You know, not because you've dodged and you get extra damage or whatever. You just get it for nothing. So that is like, they're the meta, you know, pieces right now. And but say if you're running a musket, right? And you're shooting people all the time, you want Abyssal Attunement, and then you want Enchanted, right? And then arguably Vicious, you know, for more kill factor. So they would be that for musket, because now you're just doing extra damage all the time just by left clicking. You know, no big deal. So they're considered some of the best ones that you can get for weapons, right? Again, subjective. Okay, sorry, and quickly going back to the meta, just a point I wanted to wrap up on, just talking about, you know, amulets and gems and earrings and things like that. Again, meta is subjective for these things, but let's talk something specifically for me. Now, with a character that needs a lot of evade and a way to get out of things, especially in my case, because I'm not a dex build, I move like a dex build. My build is all sort of, it mimics almost exactly the way a ranger dex build would work. Really high rolling and maneuverability. I'm trying to get shirking fortification and trying to keep on my feet. My movement is all the time. I'm going all the time. You know, my character never stops. It works very much like a ranger ability, right? But I only get 2 rolls though before my stamina drains. I only get 2 rolls before my stamina drains, and then it's over. Where a dex player can roll twice and their stamina will still be going, right? So it's really important for someone like me to have something like stamina recovery. When you are hit below 50%, gain 97% stamina, so basically 100% stamina instantly, refresh the bar, 30-second cooldown, doesn't trigger off persistent damage, dot effects, or blocked attacks. That has saved my life so many times. You have no idea. The Champion's Amulet is talked about in the community anyway, about how good of an amulet it is. It's an amazing amulet. Now, it's not necessarily completely BIS, but you know what? It's pretty goddamn close. It's pretty goddamn close. And when you're talking about anything even more specific and even more, you know, okay, so maybe I want health on that, and I want stamina recovery. Now, I've got the shirking in power, right? So after successfully dodging attack, I gain in power, damage dealt increased by 4% for 10 seconds. So that's really good, and it works really well with my build because I've got shirking fortification on most of my pieces, so I'm getting extra defense and offense as I'm rolling through attacks. It all really works together, not to mention the fact I've got refreshing evasion, so that's refreshing things as I'm going down. I've got refreshing on my chest piece, you know? So all of these things really fit together. Going on to the ring, we've got Keen and Burning. Again, because we've got Keen, Keenly Empowered, we want Keen on the ring, because the more we crit, the more our Empowered is up, and the more damage we do all the time. Burning, because Burning is one of the best dots in this game, and when you can get 5 stacks and Incinerate hits twice, and a critical adds an extra stack, you can apply all 5 stacks in one Incinerate. And now, all of those 5 stacks last 29% longer. You can imagine how annoying that is in PvP, getting caught out, right? Constant ticks on you. You can't escape this damage. It forces you and puts you in a really difficult position. I need refreshing for my build because that's the kill factor. The quicker my abilities come back, the quicker I can kill you, right? Refreshing toast, because when I'm in 3v3s and I'm running around, I want my potions back faster than they go. And regenerating, because it takes pressure off me if I haven't got a heal to just kite and stay away. And even though it's not very much, a little bit of regenerating goes a long way. Go to our next topic, gear score. Let's talk gear score. Gear score, I'm not going to lie, it's a bit of a nightmare, okay? I'm not a big fan of the gear score system in general. It kind of sucks You know, my friend, he didn't have a great time leveling in New World. He thought it was quite boring, but he really enjoyed the PvP, and he wanted to play more PvP with me. He went through a big, long grind. He got to 60, thinking that he could challenge these people. Now the game's been out, you know, however many months, and then he immediately got shat on, and then it was not fun, right? Why would it be fun? Why would that be fun? Gear score is really important. I mean, it is really important when it comes to fighting. The difference between, like, a fresh 60 and, like, my character, for example, you will never, ever beat me in a one-on-one. Like, you know, just having 500 gear score right off the back, you haven't leveled any of your expertise. Well, okay, let's say you get all the way to 600. Now, there is a piece of information out there somewhere that mentions the exact difference between 600 and 625 gear. I'll find that and I'll put it on the screen so you can read the information. But, you know, to my knowledge it's actually fairly substantial. It's fairly substantial, the difference between 600 and 625. And it has a really important role on why it is you're not doing the damage that you should be doing, or you feel you should be doing, and, you know, taking lots and lots of damage. So we've gone over gear score, you know, and how important it is. The facts are, guys, you need to really, you know, I'm 620. I've got a few pieces to 65. You can see my gloves are at 65. My staff is at 625, and I've got a few pieces, a few pieces at 64, very close. The reason I'm holding off is because as the new update comes in, all the Umbral Shard costs are going to go down. So I'm just going to upgrade everything to 65 then and just make my life easier because it doesn't cost as much. Having said that, you do need to know how important it is to be level 60, you know, level 600 gear score at least. You know, when you're a fresh level 60, you're not going to be competing very well in PvP. I'm sorry, that is just the facts, and that's how it is. MMOs are a type of game that need a lot of time investment and things like that, right? So I'm sorry, but you need to put in, if you really do want to do the PvP and fight, then you need to put in the time to do it, right? And you need to put the time in to get your gear score up. And if you can get yourself to 65 and get all the perks that you want, you know, I've played this game for 1,000 hours. I've thought about really what I want my build to be for ages. You know, what perks is it that I really want, that are really going to bring the abilities in my build out and make them shine and make them even stronger than somebody else that perhaps isn't running these perks and abilities. I try to make sure every perk that I have is thoughtful and thought out. You know, admittedly, I have a few, like Elemental Aversion on the wizened shirt or wizened shirt or whatever it is. I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't have Elemental Aversion, but Shirking, Fortification, Refreshing, I would have. Elemental Aversion is not bad because I get 3.9% extra damage, less damage from ranged elemental attacks, and mages are annoying as hell, so that comes in, hey, that's great for me. I can just add an Onyx Ring on something else and I get even more defense, so that's fine. It's not like it's empty and it's not being, you know, it's not being utilized. Critical Retribution on crit taken, gain 9.6% increased crit chance for 7 seconds. That's great. I've got Keenly Empowered. The more I crit, the more empowered I am. And if I've got my Rapier out, the more I crit, the more defensive I can be, the more damage I can take. Everything has a purpose. There is no wasteful perks. There is no useless perks in the build. So that's all I have to say about, anyway, the gear score and all of that jazz. It's important to know all of that information. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. Let's talk potions, foods, balms, and dust. Now, all of these things are important. Now, I'm talking 3v3. Unless you're minted and you're in a #1 guild of your server and you've got absolutely millions to burn through, you do not give a toss about how much gold needs to be spent. Great, get yourself like loads of stacks at Oak Balm Flesh or whatever it is, or Oak Flesh Balm even. And the powerful gemstone dust. Get yourself all the 40 stack foods that you can get. And buy as many potions as you can physically take. Don't worry all about it. Don't worry about it. But for, you know, normies like me that don't have very much gold, I suppose, you know, I've spent a lot on my gear, but, you know, I'm not rocking with so much gold, only 10k at the moment. It's important for me, though, to have one of these in my slot, because when I do go and do 3v3 PvP and stuff like that, all of these consumables, they're unlimited, right? So they don't actually get consumed when you use them, and the difference is incredible between somebody that uses them and somebody that doesn't. It just puts you at a disadvantage. Now I've got the powerful honing stone. Right. This is another one, right? The honing stone for 7% extra damage. Just have one. Buy one, have it in there. When you do 3v3s, use it. 7% extra damage for nothing. Think about it. 40 minutes. It doesn't make sense why you don't have it, right? Powerful oak flesh balm. And again, in 3v3s where it's not used, 35% extra physical damage absorption. Powerful gemstone dust, 35% extra elemental damage absorption. Right? Why wouldn't you use it? If you're not using it, somebody else is using it, and maybe that's the difference between who lives and dies in the duel, right? That's the way you got to think about these things when you're playing like PvP MMOs like this. Every little bit counts, right? Literally. Every bit counts. Every percentile counts. So stack up what you can. Now, let's talk about food, because food is so important. There's loads of people that I see that don't use food. You know, they make their builds the way they are. Let's have a quick look at my points here. Look at what's going on here. All of my stuff is in my damage, right? 55 dex. I got the 50 dex. The 5 points are extra points that you get when you upgrade your gear from like 620 to 623, and they gain an additional attribute. It's only like 5 extra attribute points or whatever, but I choose to put them into dex because it brings my rapier up to 1,000 over where my fire staff is, and it satisfies me looking at two 1,000 numbers, okay? But the point is, I've got 300 dedicated in the intelligence, 55 in the dex. I'm only got 117 constitution, but that's totally fine because I got loads of stacks of food. They give me 33, and it puts me on 150 every time I eat one. The food lasts 25 minutes, and whenever I engage, I eat one. It's not a big deal. I eat it, and that completes my build. That gives me an extra 10% less damage to critical damage taken. And when we've got things like resilient on this piece, that's 5% extra less critical damage. That's 5% extra less damage. That's 10% on the 150. That's 20% less critical damage. You know, it all stacks up. It all counts. It's all really important. And remember to yourself, if you're not using it, somebody else is using it. You know, and that again is going to make an incredible difference. Okay, on to the next topic. Let's talk gems. This video is getting a little bit lengthy, and I'm sure a little bit rambly. I apologize for that. So let's just talk gems and then wrap this video up. So, gems are an incredibly important part of this game. Like we said at the very beginning about knowing your role, what you're doing. Are you a ranged DPS with a bow and your dex build? Are you a strength bruiser? Are you a blah blah blah? You know, are you a... What are you? How are you playing your game? The gem reflects that as well, right? The gem reflects what it is, you know, you want to do. Now, let's look at my gems again as an example. For the longest time, I ran opal in the rapier, opal in the staff, right? Because I thought to myself, I'm rolling and getting shirking fortifications, and because I'm doing all this rolling, right, it almost makes sense to have the opal gems in the weapons, because when your stamina is not full, you do extra damage, like 15% extra damage, or 20% extra damage, or whatever it is. I think it's 15, actually. And I thought, that's cool, that's a good idea, right? Now, I've changed my mind since then. Now, I'm running an emerald, 20% extra damage against targets with less than 30% health. And when you think about it, as a fire staff user, when those people are on low health and you're throwing that instant fireball at them to die, or perhaps they're under 30% HP and you've managed to pull off an incinerate, there's not very many people that survive that with an emerald in it. Do you know what I mean? There are fire staff users as well that run using the other ability that I can't remember quite, Pillar of Fire. I couldn't remember the name of it for a second, but they run Pillar of Fire. They have 40% extra damage with foes at full health, and then they run the Onyx, which is 30% extra damage with foes at full health. So that stacks, and you do insane damage with a Pillar of Fire on an opening, right? But that's what you're doing then. You're using that gem for the opener, because as soon as you've dumped it, right, and you've spaffed all your cooldown and your Pillar of Fire up the wall, and it's done, and the hit's done, that's it, you're done. You know, he drinks a potion, he goes back to his day, and then that's it, you crack on. First strike only. Well, foes at full health anyway. Not saying that you couldn't get another hit like that, but you see what I'm saying. The engagement hit is it, and then the Onyx goes out the window, basically. That's the reason I run Emerald, because if you're at 30% HP, it gives me more kill factor to get you down. And that's what I want. Now, I could arguably run an Emerald in this, but the reason I'm not is because, obviously, we want to use the attunement. Well, we got the... I can't even remember the name of the gem. An aquamarine, I think it is. A pristine aquamarine. Because that gives us the scaling off the intelligence, right? And that gives us the most that we can get out of the rapier at all times. But to make up that kill factor that I lack with the Emerald, I make up by having Deadly Flourish, because now Flourish does 39% extra damage against targets with low health. And it's class. I mean, that attack drops so many people. It's amazing. Okay, and so that's the gems, and also, let's quickly talk about, you know, the gems in your armor. You can run this however you want, but think about it really simply. You know, really, and again, this is PvP, right? We're not talking about corrupted stuff or fire resistance or anything like that. We're talking about damage here. Now, you've got slash resistance, you've got physical resistance, you've got magical resistance. What do you want to do? What is more of a pain in the ass to you? I'll tell you what annoys me the most. Mages. Mages annoy me. Mirror matches annoy me. They annoy me with the flamethrower. They annoy me with the peppering of the dots. The ice storms annoy me. The wind chills annoy me. That flamethrower really, really, really annoys me. I mean, it really annoys me. So I choose to have extra resistance in magic. That's fine. If that's what you want to do, you can do that. If you don't, you don't. It's fine. Whatever you struggle with, use it. Onyxes will give you physical. What gives you what is the one that gives you full magical resistance? I can't remember, but it'll be up on screen. You know, diamonds give you 2% physical and like half or like 0.63% magic resistance. The malachites give you 1.9% element, so it's like the reverse of the diamond. You know, you get me. So just choose what it is that you struggle with and protect yourself against that. That's the best thing I can advise you for the armor things. Again, for me, it's mages. I choose to have a bit more elemental resistance. It works for me. Okay, now, that's the gems. That's the video. It was a little bit of a long one, and I do apologise, but I do hope that it's helped. You know, I do hope that maybe you understand a bit more that, you know, basically a lot of things come into play here. You know, when you're doing PvP and you're getting stressed out of the mind because, you know, muskets are bodying you, you know, all the time because they're stacked with 65, 180k. There's certain things, you're not going to be able to prevent certain things like that. Like my character, he's built really well, I feel, and I've put a lot of time into this guy. And if I fight somebody that's fully stacked out 625, they destroy me. You know, sometimes I suppose, you know, I get back and you can fight back the 60. It's not so much of a difference between 620 and 625, so it's not like you can't defend yourself, but you do feel the difference, especially when their perks are all on point and they've got everything legendary perfect. You know, that makes a hell of a difference. Don't let it demoralize you. Let it push you. You know, just save your gold, get pieces where you can, think about the style of build that you want to do. Certain things work and certain things don't at the end of the day. If you're one of these people that's really creative and you want to make, I don't know, Warhammer Void Gauntlet build because you think it looks sick and it's so cool. Now, it's not necessarily that it won't work, but really it won't work. These things, not everything meshes together and not everything is meant to go together. And if you try to go against it, you'll be hindered massively in PvP. That is just the way it is, right? But there is some freedom in there, right? There's a lot of freedom in there, really. You know, there's still a lot that you can do for your builds. Me, I love Firestaff and Rapier. It's what I have played since day one of New World. I don't think I'll ever play anything else. I literally just enjoy it so much. Even now when I play PvP, I'm making videos. I've been playing it for a year now. It's been out over a year. And I love it. I love it. It's just so fun. I came from playing WoW and being a Death Knight. That you know, sword and magic type thing. I played Death Knight and I played Shaman, and I wanted something that sort of mimicked that. And Fire Staff and Rapier do it really well for me, and I enjoy every single minute of it. So, guys, I'm so sorry for the long video. Again, I do hope it's helped. Just think about it. Think about your build. Take your time with it. Don't let it stress you out too much. And most of all, just have fun with it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Until then, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.